Welcome to Derry is about to wrap up. The final episode is upon us, and I want to talk about what exactly can we expect this Sunday because I truly am at a loss for words. This show has definitely gone on to create some amazing moments in the Stephen King universe, and I definitely would love to see more. So I'm excited for season 2 because yes, indeed, they do want to continue the show. The whole thing with the show was that every season would go 27 years back. That was what they announced. I don't know if they're exactly going to move in that direction now because I just don't know. But if they do, what we probably would see would be Ingrid when she worked at the psych ward and when that little kid got taken by Pennywise then, because that's when she found out that the entity of it had taken her father Bob Gray's appearance. In this episode, we did see how Bob Gray was ultimately just a Pennywise dancing clown until the entity saw that he attracted large crowds, specifically kids, and wanted to do that. So they wanted to take over his body of sorts so that they can do that. This episode was great that we saw because it truly highlights the horrors not only of Pennywise but also of Derry as a town. We saw that the black spot ultimately got burned and many people got killed throughout the process. We do see that Rich gives a sacrifice in order to save Marge, which was a big hit. Honestly, I did not expect Rich to get taken out like that. But by the end of the episode, we saw that the military has now taken the shard and destroyed it because the military's ultimate goal now is to unleash Pennywise out into America so that they can better control it and also the world ultimately. I guess. I don't know how they're going to control Pennywise. But the clown's out of the bag and he is out terrorizing all of Derry now. He starts off with Will and it's just going to get horrible here. So in the next episode from the trailer, we see Pennywise is fully unleashed and he will try and devour all of Derry first before ultimately, I guess, he's going to move on. We do know that the general thinks he's making America safer by unleashing it, but I think he's quickly going to find out you can't mess with the clown. I wouldn't put it past Pennywise to take out the general first. I think that would definitely be funny to see the general get just killed when he thought he could contain it, because how is it going to be contained? The whole town, or most of it, more than likely just the school, is going to be captured by the deadlights. I think that they will ultimately be able to come out of it if they're taken out just in time, just as Beverly was back in It Chapter 1. So it's going to be up to the kids to really be able to save the school, because Pennywise looks like he's ready to take the full school and consume it. I think Hanlon's going to be one of the main leaders here that's going to push forward with this. The kids have a shard, of course, that Lily found when they were down in the sewers, and she was able to use it to fight against Pennywise in a way, like a defense. And I think that's how they're going to ultimately come up with a new shard of sorts by using this one. And also Rose, who is with the Native Americans and the Native Americans alike, are going to just have to create one as well. I think Halloran's dead souls could also be used in order to help contain it and also bring forth the ancestors of the natives that created the shards in the first place. So Halloran being able to communicate with the dead can be pretty good. And of course, we know Derry's going to be okay until the next cycle, as we've already seen in Chapter 1. I'm very curious if they're going to explore a bit more about Bob Gray, and ultimately his story probably will be further elaborated on in the next season. That's going to go back 27 years. But the craziest thing here is that this whole town is not going to remember what happened here in Derry with Pennywise when he took over and the mist came through, because that's something that happens here. You never really remember what happens in Derry. And Pennywise, of course, ultimately is just going to be a bit of something everybody talks about, an urban legend of sorts. But I think this is where we definitely see Mrs. Hirsch become the minion or the entity of it. As we saw in Chapter 2, she was used to go out against Beverly. So we probably get a little bit more of that here, but the next episode definitely is going to be huge. We'll be breaking it down as soon as it airs. I'll have my video up, so if you want to hear that breakdown and theories for the next season, make sure you hit the subscribe button and notification bell right now so you know when that video drops Sunday night. As soon as the episode's done, we're going to be uploading that video, so don't miss out on that. But let me know what you think about It Welcome to Derry's final episode. What do you think about the season so far? Like I said, I really think every episode just got better and the show just kept on growing on me a lot more, especially in comparison to the first episode. This is definitely one of those shows I think you just got to let it marinate and boil and ultimately just become what it needs to become. And I think you're going to enjoy it a lot more because of that. So I'm also wondering why nobody ever left like a little like cheat sheet for everybody in the future about how to contain Pennywise. We do know that the natives as well ultimately just sit around and gather and try to make sure that things are going smoothly each cycle. Like, it's a cycle that they know just has to happen. And I do wonder if we'll learn more about why this cycle has to happen. Maybe they haven't been able to create a shard strong enough to contain all of this time, and it's just easier to be able to contain it for at least almost 3 decades, let it go loose for a couple of weeks or months, and then ultimately put it back for another 3 decades. That's what I'm wondering, if we'll get more backstory about that there. Also with Bob Gray, I think it definitely would help to see a little bit more there, but it looks like in the next episodes it is going to be big climax of the whole show. So I'm excited to see how that turns out, and we'll see what happens. But it definitely does seem like they're ready to take as many risks as they can. We were all shocked to see Rich ultimately die. I thought it was over with Phil and the other kids in the first episode and Maddie, but it seems like nah, they got a lot more up their sleeves here. So we'll see how this season ends. And I'm curious, where are they going to leave it off for the next season for you to want to come back, right? Because ultimately you want to come back to the show for something, and I think they're going to have to leave some things with loose ends in order to tie them up better with the next season. So I'm curious what that's going to be exactly. But I think that this episode that we just got, episode 7, really was great. I think Dick Halloran is such an interesting character. Ultimately, of course, we see that Dick is probably going to end up in Colorado anytime soon, so he can be there just in time for The Shining. And I am so excited to see where Welcome to Derry goes for a season 2, because it was great seeing these characters. I think season 2 is obviously going to be a little bit more centered on Ingrid and her in that psych ward and this next cycle of Pennywise. I'm just curious if people are going to want to tune in for that, if there's not much for these characters anymore, like an anthology of sorts, maybe like almost like American Horror Story in a way, but it's all centered around Pennywise. That's the big question here. Let me know what you think about that. We'll talk about that in season 2 theories. Let's watch the last episode and see where they want to take us. But yeah, I think the kids are going to have to make a new shard with the Native Americans and ultimately be led by Hanlon and also Halloran with the dead spirits to be able to contain Pennywise. It's going to take more than just the living. I think you're going to need the dead as well. So very excited to see where we go in the next episode, and let me know what you think. Drop your theories down below for this Sunday, what's going to happen. But as always, that's going to do it for me. I'll see all of you next time. Hit that subscribe button, notification bell. 50,000 subscribers is the goal. As always, stay safe, stay positive.